This is Bruce Bochy, and you're listening to the Ranger Report.
The Ranger Report. Yeah, the Ranger Report. If you want the inside scoop, listen to the Ranger Report. Oh, here we go.
This is the Ranger Report Podcast. News, insights, predictions, interviews, and information about the World Series champion Texas Rangers, from the major leagues to the minor leagues. And now, here are your hosts, Ben Dieter, Tyler Nilson, Kane McCutchen, and CJ Berryman.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Ranger Report Podcast, brought to you on the Fans First Sports Network. We are your source for the Texas Rangers on the Fans First Sports Network. As always, we are on the, almost said the old one again, we are on the Comfort Air online studio and brought to you by Walton's, presented by Dallas Sports Nation. We are here. I am Ben Dieter. He is CJ Berryman. That is Kane McCutchen. And we are joined tonight by John Moore. John, how's it going, man?
What's up, guys?
John is now on the DLLS Rangers, so you can still catch him every week with Jeff, just like before, just the name changed. So, and if you were subscribed to Rangers Today, like I was, you automatically got moved over to the new one. So I still get all of Jeff's stuff, plus all the extra stuff now that's on DLLS.
Yeah, they cover it all. They cover every sport now, so not just the Rangers. It's technically called All City Sports.
Lots of Horned Frog.
All City Sports, okay.
Yeah, it's All City Sports.
Coverage. I'm liking that.
Yeah. Jeff's running a TCU show that he's doing every week also, and of course he's got contacts out there. He went there and still has contacts out there.
Yep. So yeah, it's been great to see. Glad you guys keep moving up in the world, and we continue right where we're at. So that's pretty awesome right there. So.
Hey, we've kept the pace, but y'all just gave us the middle finger and
Well, let me tell you something. Not me.
Yeah.
I'm just hanging on for dear life on the back end and getting drugged with them everywhere. You know what? I take my hat off to him when all of that went down. So, Jeff. Yeah. Jeff makes a living at this. This is what he does for a living, and I don't. It's always been me and Jeff have our own deal on the side, and it's always just been. But when the deal approached, it was the All-Star game. He came up to me and said, "Hey, they're offering me this, and I'm going to take it." And I was like, I'd love to come along. He said they're going to do a podcast. They're wanting to do it. He said, but they're wanting to do a daily one. And I said, I can, but if we can use our studio, because it's in my office and all of that. But he said, I'm still trying to, if we can't do anything with you, we still had our deal at the time. We had a deal with Odyssey, and we were just 6 months into a 2-year deal. He goes, and we'll ride that out. Well, DLLS looked at our YouTube subscription and all of that and said, no. Let's bring him aboard. So I'm still doing the weekly, and he'd credential me and do the weekly. And now we've got some balls in the air. We're looking at some other things possibly. I've always just volunteered to be kind of a helper or whatever y'all need on the side. And now there's actually some talk of some other cool things that I can't talk about that might be happening. So, but it's all because Jeff got let go by the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, and that's the dumbest move they ever made. They still don't cover the Rangers. It turned out to be just something great for me. I was with Dallas Sports Nation then. You know?
That's right. Yeah, you were.
What's funny is that's when Ben and I kicked this thing back up together, and Jeff had just left the Star-Telegram, and he came on with us, and it was right before he brought you on, and I mean, it's just been a fun ride. So it's kind of unique how the parallels there between our podcast and how, everything was going at the time. And then how y'all just, we're still doing good, but y'all, and Jeff,
there's a difference.
Jeff is driven, and he knows people. And I'm sure, I know he's got a big smile on his face every time he wakes up in the morning, because he's thinking, what do you think the Star-Telegram's thinking right now?
That's the thing. So what's funny is he got let go, and I just happened to be there like 2 days later, and we were down on the field by the dugout, and I was like, what the hell happened? And he's telling me. And about an hour later, we were up in the press box, and he was getting TR to help him. TR said, hey, I want to write some memoirs. So that was happening. And so I just kind of said, hey, did y'all ever do a podcast, or did you want to do a podcast? And he was like, I wanted to do a podcast forever. And he goes, and they would not do it. And I said, well, man, I'd like to co-host one. I always wanted to co-host and all that. And he goes, let's do it. And I said, well, let's not do it on the platform I'm on, because I didn't want to. I was like, let's try to do our own thing if we can. So then we negotiated for about 2 weeks and all of that. And then at the end, I was like, look, I know the money thing, we've negotiated what we'll do if if it makes it and we go there. But I said, I got to have a credential. I said, because that's the only payment I'm getting right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then he went to John and Rich and said, yep, you're fine to come on. And I knew it. Like I said, that was a Friday. I let the guy know at Dallas Sports Nation. Monday, we did our first show, and he said, hey, I'm going to get John Daniels. And I went, what?
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty big first. That was pretty big first show. But yeah, Jeff, I mean, the best thing that ever happened to Jeff was getting fired for the Fort Worth Star-Telegram.
I think so.
It's crazy that they don't even cover it.
No, and literally what? Fort Worth is literally 20 minutes away from the ballpark. I mean, it's right there. I mean, I cover it from Tyler, Texas, and I'm 2 hours away. Fort Worth is.
No, they've decided
Amarillo.
TCU. They've decided to do TCU and the Cowboys.
Yeah.
I think they do a little bit of Mav stuff too.
Yeah. Cowboys really.
Well, Cowboys are tough to do right now. We won't talk about that though. Speaking of, let's get into what we had to talk about, because there's no Rangers news at all this week, right? Like
nothing's happened.
Let's start off with the one I had a
damn thing.
I had a buddy here locally text me when it happened. He said he's back. I didn't even have to ask him who he was talking about. I knew right away that we had re-signed Nathan Eovaldi, because I knew that was our number one thing. So I just remember, like, I was celebrating. I was so happy. I did not expect. Kane and I talked about on last week's show how that wasn't going to happen. He wasn't coming back to Texas. So I don't know how you guys felt, but I was super excited when Eovaldi re-signed.
Jeff, Kane, were you still out there when it happened?
I was not. I had left at about 5. I was not out there.
Sorry, I saw Kane out there. I know he had been out there all day too, and been out there all week. So
yeah.
But so it's funny, did y'all go to Kane? Did you go down for the draft when they did the lottery?
I did, yeah.
So John Radigan and I were sitting at the back of that, and this was probably about an hour, maybe an hour and a half before that was announced. And Radigan and I are sitting there, and we're just kind of we're just talking, and I said, Jeff all along has said their number one priority is Eovaldi. They want Eovaldi back. Eovaldi wants to be back. He's been saying that the whole time. And so after the Kikuchi deal and what's his name, Severino or whatever that signed, so John and I were sitting there, and I said, 3 years, 75. And John goes, I've been saying the exact same thing. 3 years, 75 million. I said, that would get it done, right? And he goes, it got to. That's more than Kikuchi, because he's better than Kikuchi and Severino. And he said that, and why not? I said, I'd even go a 4th year, maybe with an option, a player or an option. And I said, because look, 4 years from now, if that's your number 4 or 5 starter, you got a great rotation.
Yeah.
To have that guy at the back of your rotation, I mean, give me a break. And so we left. John helped me. I was packing all my stuff. We get it all, and we get in our cars. He drives me over to where mine was. I didn't park over there by it. I get loaded up, and we head out, and we're literally splitting apart, and I'm getting up the highway, and it's announced exactly what we had just talked about. And I'm going, holy crap, we just said this, And but no, it was so important to get him back. And it's not just the fact of what he adds to the rotation. You don't understand the type of player he is in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
And you don't understand the guy. Like I heard Jeff talking about the other day, Mike Maddox loves him, but we had on Mark Church a couple of weeks ago on the weekly podcast, and Church is throwing a split finger now. And he said, yeah, he goes, Nathan Eovaldi taught me how to throw it. He goes, man, I used it in Arizona Fall League. I don't know if you saw his Fall League numbers.
No, it was amazing. Yeah.
They were great. And he goes, man, it's been fantastic. He goes, now I throw it when I want. And he goes, and I've got to change up, and I'm throwing close. I was hitting 98, 99. He goes, and now I've got this, and now I can control this. And I'm like asking him, well, what's it run? He goes, yeah, it kind of dips off to the right, coming in. And he said, but Eovaldi did that. Eovaldi will go down and watch minor leaguers. He talks to the minor leaguers at spring training. I've heard that Jeff said that he goes out when, like, if DeGrom's throwing a bullpen out in the bullpen. If you get, for those that don't know, we're in the media. We've all been there for that, anyone listening. So before anyone's allowed in, the players take batting practice, or the Rangers do, but some of the guys will go out and throw a bullpen out in that bullpen. We're not allowed out there, but you can see them out there. They're out there throwing or whatever. He said that if, and you guys know that because y'all have been out there too, but Evo will go out there and watch bullpens of whoever's throwing, and just to say, hey, you might try this, or whatever. He is a clubhouse dude, and he wants everyone to be good. And it's a reason why he's 5-1 in playoff baseball, and was what was he in 3-0 in the playoffs with the Rangers going to the World Series. So I mean,
battled through a game in the to clinch it or to win it through a game that it didn't look like he was going to make it through 4.
Didn't look like he had his stuff.
He didn't have his stuff, but he battled through 6 and didn't give up a damn run. I mean,
well, that one inning, he got the bases loaded with one out or maybe none, and he got out of it.
Yep.
And out of that, and then all of a sudden he started cruising, and then the Rangers gave him a little cushion. And once you give him cushion, you guys are doomed.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to battle it.
I had just left, and I pull out and I get home, and John, and they're long days, like they stack up. And so I got back, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm finally home. I get my dinner. Literally, I have my plate in front of me, about to start eating. Nathan Eovaldi re-signs. Like, dang it, I got to open my laptop again.
Yeah,
this again. But no, yeah, great to have it back. I mean, obviously, like what CY has always said, that was the number one priority, and you got to give them credit for all the talk about the budget and what they were going to spend and weren't going to spend, and what they still may or may not. You have to give the front office credit for going out there and getting their guy, getting the deal done, doing what it takes. And like John said, it didn't you didn't have to hundreds of millions. It didn't take all that.
I understand why he tested the market, probably just to make sure and see. But I know that he's from down there where Nolan's from. He lives near Houston, I think. Somewhere around Houston is where he lives now. It's where he made his off-season home, no matter where he was. He likes being in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think the only one that could have come in and made some sort of offer that he were really considered may have been someone like the Astros, just because that's where he lives. But he loves the Ranger clubhouse, and he loves Texas.
And I think that's pretty inevitable, just based off of the teams that were interested in him. You had the Mets that wanted him, you had the Orioles, you had a lot of good contending teams that wanted him. And so the fact that he came back here shows to that exact point that he wants to be here.
That and it was funny because Ben texted me that we got him back, or he's back, or something like that. And it was and right then, right as he texted that, that's when the ribbon comes down and gave me the notification.
Yeah.
So Ben was, if you want to talk about giddy, Ben was giddy. I because
let's look at the rotation now. So you got your ace is DeGrom.
Yeah.
You've got Evo back. You've got Rocker.
Yep.
You've got Malley, who is one heck of. You've got Cody Bradford, who may be the most unsung and underrated of all of them in the way he was before he got injured last year. Then you got Dunning. Then you got John Gray still here.
Yep.
You go down to Leiter. They just put Teodo on the 40-man. He's a starter.
Yep.
You got Winston Santos, who's going to probably be in AA or AAA, who just got added to the 40-man. You still have Cole Winn and
Jake Latz
and those guys down there. But your rotation right now, I think I saw it today where they weren't looking at another starting pitcher. They weren't looking to add another starting pitcher. Sasaki aside, that's obviously they're in on that and they want that. But let me be clear: after this Sasaki deal is done, whether they sign him or not, they will do some reclamation projects. They'll get a couple of those guys for AAA rotation that are, come here on a minor league deal, because we have said it over and over and over again. You never go through a season with 5 or 6 starters.
Nope.
You're going to use 8 to 10 starters during the year.
Yeah. And we've already seen that, they've been signing depth, and, to your point, they're done. But, this rotation is one of the best in the American League, if not baseball. I mean,
before Evo, it was too. Before Evo, it was probably top 5 in the American League.
Yeah, and I think, you mentioned Sasaki is very interesting. I actually, I've been pretty wrapped up in it. We had a nice media scrum with Sasaki's agent. Oh my goodness, I've never seen that. Yeah, I've never seen that much.
I missed that because I was setting up the deal, but I heard that was pretty wild.
It was insane. It was very interesting and a lot of good stuff. And I actually did a Japanese TV interview today about Sasaki too. But no, I think
So do you speak Japanese?
No. But what Wolf was saying, his agent is, you walk away from that press conference if you're the Rangers and you love what he had to say. I mean, he was
soft landing.
I think something very interesting he said was now a lot more cities have direct flights to Japan. So location is becoming less and less of a factor in the posting system. He said that Sasaki hadn't mentioned location at all. Talked about how he asked about weather, which I would say we have pretty good weather. He asked about pitching development, which
we've got an indoor stadium.
Yeah, indoor stadium. We got Mike Maddox, who developed Yu Darvish. I mean, if you're the Rangers, you're walking away loving what he had to say.
Well, and let me tell you something. And this, he said something about his mental health. And I guess the Japanese media is pretty there in Japan. Now Jeff loves the guys. He's got some. I've met a few of them.
They're pretty sensitive to that. Yeah.
And but the guys here that live in America that cover, are pretty good guys that they live here full time. And they do it. But he apparently the Japanese media there, he seems to be somewhat of an introvert. And let me tell you something, look, DFW is a top 5 media market. It just is no matter what they say. But I can tell you right now, dealing with guys that have played Eovaldi with Boston, Jacob deGrom with the Mets and stuff like that, they love the way the media is in Texas, because I've seen it when they did the All-Star game and all the media was in town for the All-Star game and you had Judge and everyone there. I'm not kidding you guys. You walk in the clubhouse, those guys from New York had 35, 40 people standing around their locker. And that's what it's all this. And everybody's trying to outscoop everybody. So they got to find some sort of story. DeGrom, I got a story about DeGrom. So, I became really good friends with Jankowski and we just became buddies. And so at last game I covered, I was down there in the clubhouse and him and DeGrom are pretty good buddies. Now, to DeGrom's defense, he's feeling good now. And when he's feeling good, you can see he's a happy guy. And he's always been very nice and very cordial and very polite. But you could just tell he's in a great mood. But, you say hello to him or whatever, but you never really engage him a lot unless you're doing a story. And I don't. So Jeff does. So I really don't. But I went over to Jankowski and he was sitting there talking to DeGrom. And I said, hey, I think this might be the last game I'm going to cover this year. Of course, he gets up, he gives me a big old hug. And he's like, hey, are you going to get CY to sign me? And I said, I've been calling him every day, telling him I'm going to get you back. I said, he's not listening to me or whatever. And we're laughing and all that. And I'm like, good luck with the kids. And we had all summer, we've been talking about the kids. He rented a place for the pool and he was talking about the kids swimming every day and what they were doing. Now they were back and they were already back. It was the fall because it was September and they were already back in Pennsylvania. And so we were talking about all of that. And I told him, tell the Wi-Fi and, good luck. I hope to see you back here. And right about the time I'm done saying that, I look and DeGrom's got his arm out to shake my hand. And he goes, hey, have a good off season. I think, thanks, Jake. You too, bud. We'll see you. You have a good. And I walked away going, Jacob deGrom just was like, I thought I was going to get a bro hug for a second there. I don't know what. But I'm telling you, it was never like that for him in New York.
No,
because I've seen the freaking New York media.
Yeah,
y'all have seen them if you've been at the All-Star game or whatever. Yep. They're now in the clubhouse is a different deal, but even up there, they are pushy. They get, in all that crap, and that's why I think with Sasaki. He can come here. It's not just the pitch for what we can offer. We got direct flights. This is a soft landing. We've got our media on a weeknight in that clubhouse. These guys don't get 7 to 10 people at their locker at the most. You're going to have your beats. You're going to have Jeff Kennedy and Evan there every night. Stefan. is usually there some, but the Fort Worth Star Telegram doesn't send anybody. You've always got your radio and TV guys. They've got to try to get something before that. After a game, same thing, but they just sit there. They'll talk to you real quick, and then you're gone. And they're not sitting around with 30 guys and getting asked the same freaking question
every time.
30 different people.
Yeah,
because the one guys couldn't hear it, and they had to wait till they could get up to the front to ask him the same damn question about what did you throw when he hit it 700 feet. They'd rather get it all over with at once and get out of it.
Oh, yeah. Because I remember whenever the Mets came to town to play the Rangers this year, and we had an interview with DeGrom in the dugout, and everyone was there. All the New York media was there. I kid you not. Before I walked out of that dugout, SNY had already posted it everywhere.
Yeah.
And too, John, they had a whole set at the winter meetings that was right next to MLB Network, a huge set. I mean, it's crazy. It's insane.
Yep. Jeff is convinced. I really feel good. Jeff is convinced that the Rangers are all in on this guy and that they have something to throw. This guy wants to play for a team that is going to compete. He does not want to come here. Everybody thinks, mid-market, he's going to go Cincinnati, Pittsburgh. He wants to go where they're going to win.
Yeah.
And the Rangers are, yes, you can look at last year's roster. There's a lot of injuries. They underperformed, but the core group that won the World Series the year before is here.
It's there.
They just signed Eovaldi back. They just made the trade for Berger.
Yep.
Getting him out here, that lineup's already looking better. This is a place that you're going to come and compete. And yes, you're going to have, Jeff said he goes, it's a different game. He goes, when we had Yu Darvish, there were about 15 extra people that covered Yu Darvish. Now, will there be 15 now because you've got Japanese players scattered throughout the league, and the big one's going to be over in LA where you've got Ohtani and Yamamoto.
Yep.
So maybe there's only 5 or 7 that are full-time here that do it, coming here for him. So I don't know, but I certainly think the biggest competitor, of course, obviously the Dodgers are somebody that are going to be in on him, but I think the biggest competitor from the Rangers perspective is probably the Padres.
Yeah, I can see that.
And let's talk about that Berger trade. And because I like burgers. Ben, let's go over the details of that. Talk about the trade because it.
Hey, Missouri State.
Missouri State.
Where Berger went?
Missouri State alone.
State. All right.
That's where my son goes to school.
I was like, isn't that where your son goes? Yeah, I thought that was where he went. Yeah.
So let's talk about that trade because it kind of put a whole lot of wheels in motion as far as holy crap, what's going to happen now? Because there's just let's talk about that. And first, let's just talk about the trade. Rangers, go ahead, Ben.
The fact that they didn't even have to give up a top 10 or top 15 prospect, I don't believe, to get him is pretty amazing right there. Now,
there was one.
Acosta's a good player. He's a very good player.
Well, Vargas was the cream of that.
Yeah, Vargas was the cream of that.
Vargas for sure. And man, I just hated. I was going to focus so hard on Brian Mendoza this year, and
Brayan.
I'm sorry, Brian. Yeah. Sorry, Brian. Why did I say Brian?
Because it looks like Brian. If you're reading it quickly, I
have a Brian in one of my classes at school, so I knew how to pronounce that one.
Anyway, Brian Mendoza. I was gonna just focus on him a whole lot. I mean, I always pick a pitcher in the league in the minors, somewhere that
he was good last year.
Yeah, and okay, this year I'm going to focus on him and watch him closely, and I give those names out at the beginning of each year, and then those are my guys. He was going to be my guy, so I gotta kind of revel from that. But I mean, yes, what Ben said, yes, we didn't have to give up the farm, and now you look at the trade now, it puts into question now, and especially with Blaine Krim not getting selected in the Rule 5.
Yep.
Blaine Krim, Justin Foscue, Ezekiel Duran. You're looking also at a logjam at DH. You also have a logjam in the outfield now. So is that a Leote trade? Is it an Adolis trade? Or, as Jeff has been talking about, a Nathaniel Lowe trade. So, John, I mean, there's so many so many obstacles now that are going to unravel pretty much.
I tell you what. Well, they have a lot of options.
Yeah.
And look, they've got two guys right now in Ezekiel Duran and Josh Smith who probably got some value that they can trade. But they, if they keep them, a lot of people were like, well, good God, now where's Josh Smith going to play? Let me tell you something. Josh Smith playing the outfield too.
Yeah.
And if you're hitting, you're going to play. Let's say Evan Carter is not playing the way you like Evan Carter to play, or he's only having to get to play against
that's one I'm worried about. A young kid like that does not be having these many back problems.
Right. And so whatever's going there, well, then Wyatt Langford plays center field and Josh Smith plays left field. Josh Smith is an excellent defender. He's unbelievable, all the way around the diamond. I bet he's good at first base too. We haven't seen him play it, but he's excellent around the infield. He can play. He's obviously the backup shortstop and second baseman. He's good at third base. He played that most of the year last year. Yep. He's a Silver Slugger winner. He won the Silver Slugger for utility guy, but he played left field too. He played some outfield. And he DH'd. So there's, Josh Smith, there's plenty of at-bats for Josh Smith. He can get guys off their feet every day and doing that. And, you could get him 5 games a week or 4 games a week.
Absolutely.
And he's left-handed. And he's left-handed. So
it opens it all up. So it opens it up.
That's left-handed.
Is Nate Lowe somebody they're going to trade? They could.
Yeah.
He's $10 million. What's his name? Berger's going to make $800,000. He's league minimum guy. He's just now coming up on his arbitration years next year. Not this
he's got 4 years of retainability. Yeah.
Yeah. He's here till 2029. Now he's Nate's age, so he's a little bit of a late bloomer. But his first round pick. He was first round pick by the White Sox, and him and Dunning knew each other. He was in Dunning's wedding.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, it's just I don't know. I mean, there's something cooking. Ross Fenstermaker, which Jeff told me today. Ross was always a great source for him. Get a lot of things. He goes, yeah, he's not quite as good anymore. But now he's got the big job. You know what? That job comes with you don't talk. And don't get me wrong, Ross never leaked anything. But Ross
I was about to say, this is what I love about how this Rangers organization is operating, because it's the exact opposite of the football team across the street. Everything, everybody knows everything. Everybody knows everything. The instant, blah, blah, blah. With the Rangers, who the hell knew that this was going to happen last night?
Nope, they didn't know that. They didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how quiet.
You had Ranger fans jumping off the bus, less than 24 hours ago, talking about they were jumping off the bus with Eovaldi signing somewhere else because someone said, whoever Boston was in on the, he had been talking to some teams or whatever. And someone goes, well, we're not going to get him back. So they asked me on Twitter, and I go, you don't know they're not going to get him back. Yeah. I said, the Rangers never let on what they're doing.
Nope. No,
they never let on.
It is, So the Berger trade, I mean, it's a perfect example. I mean, example.
It was so funny that Berger trade came across about 11 o'clock last night.
Oh, I know.
Oh, it was really late, and I saw it.
I texted Ben. I knew Ben was asleep, but I said my exact words. I think Ben were, "Our front office ain't fucking around."
Yeah, I think that's what you said.
I said. So I texted Jeff because I didn't know. I knew he had long days. And I didn't want him to miss anything. And I didn't know if he had his phone by him or whatever. And so I texted him and I said, hey, Rangers just traded for Jake Berger. And immediately back, he said, I've already seen it. And then I looked up and his tweet was, I just want to go to bed.
Yep, I saw that.
I can imagine that he did. Yeah, Berger. And then today,
I want to go to bed.
Today, the Rangers picked up Jacob Webb from
yes.
Well, he pitched for Baltimore. Did he pitch for Baltimore last year?
Yes.
Yeah.
2 years.
Yeah, 3.02 with Baltimore last year.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I was worried about was bullpen. We need bullpen help, and I think Jacob Webb is going to help solidify that bullpen quite a bit.
Rangers should really remember Jacob Webb really well.
He gave the grand slam to Mitch Garver.
Yeah. So, I mean, we like him here.
Yeah.
Now we get him with Mike Maddox. And we fixed that, right? So,
and how about him taking the discount?
Well,
too?
here's
wanted to be here. Comes for less than 2
wanted to be here.
He's from California.
He pretty much. It makes it sound like he came to us.
You know, I wonder if he's ever had a run-in with Maddox, maybe, or maybe Bochy or anybody somewhere down the line. I mean, he was with Atlanta for those years, and then last year he was with Baltimore. He's been with the Angels, but you know, he's not going to be your closer. He's a guy that's just going to be. He's one of those one-inning guys you're going to get. And look, you know what this is probably filling in for, because somebody that we're going to miss probably for a good part of the season is going to be Spores, who's dealing with that thing he's dealing with. And this is probably the Spores replacement, kind of that guy that might have some leverage situations in games, but they're going to
middle reliever. A true middle reliever, like that guy that can pitch in the, fifth for an inning, get you through the fifth. If you have a, starter, you got to get him out of there early. Or you're kind of or a guy in the eighth if you have guys that aren't available that night, or a guy that can pitch in the seventh or the sixth. He's going to. Or
you want a good arm to shut it down, even though you're up by 7 and it's the ninth inning. You don't want to waste your closer. Hey, go out there and get me these 3 outs.
When you look at it, he's not a big strikeout guy. That's not his forte. But I mean, he's got a 2.98 career ERA, and as Kane said, he had 3.02 last year ERA with Baltimore, and he's never pitched more than 56.2 innings in a season. He's actually never pitched more than 53.2 innings before that in a season. So that's kind of just that one inning. I mean, like we're talking about, and it might. Those guys are valuable. Those guys are valuable, John.
Well, look at his walks compared to strikeouts.
Exactly.
Yep.
He's got 186 strikeouts compared to 88 walks in his career. So he doesn't give away free bases a ton. This year he gave away almost half. Yeah. That's something you want to work on, and that's something he's going to have to work on. Mike Maddox does not like that. Look, I'd rather them beat me with hitting the ball 400 feet than you walking on the tying and the go-ahead run, and then we're stuck with you out there, because we got to go 3 hitters now. So that's one way. He's $1.25 million. He should be good, and if he's not, you're not out a lot of money. So,
nope.
And how about that breaking right during the Rule 5 draft, too, which was rather uneventful. So there was some good news for us in there.
Yeah. And it all started, this front office has gone after what they want and got it. They said that, did you hear Higashioka? I don't know how to say it. I've tried to say it 100 times and I say it.
Same here. Yeah, same here.
Different way every time. But Higashioka said that the day free agency was officially on, the Rangers called him.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
That day. And so he said, Texas was the first team to call me, first ones to get me in. The Rangers went after Higashioka and had him sign quick. And so they target someone, and they know they had Jacob deGrom. I know they had been talking, or not Jacob deGrom, Eovaldi. I know they had been talking to Eovaldi the whole time they were allowed to talk to him until free agent officially hit. They were allowed to talk to him. And then, so they already had that dialogue going. I think he went out and wanted to talk to at least a couple more teams. His agent probably was talking to teams, behind out there, which they say you're not supposed to, but they are. And I don't blame him.
No.
And he's getting a feel for it. And he's probably hearing, hey, there's some good offers out there. And maybe the Rangers came in at 71 or 72, and they were like, and they had to come up and go 375 gets it. And then they said, let's do it. I mean, what's another 3 or 4 million? Let's do it. And they're done. Now, I don't know what the TV deal is still doing. There's still some question around that. It sounds like there may be a deal where they're going to do it on their own. I heard that from Rich Rice, who said, they're still trying to knock this TV deal out. Yeah. But he wasn't sure. He didn't. No. I heard that from Radigan. I'm sorry, not Rice. I was talking to Rich about something else, about Chris Young being out there, staying out there. But if y'all get it, I don't know if I'll ever get to go to a winter meeting again, because they only if it's here.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to go out to do it. It is kind of boring, but you talk about wild. Kane can tell you. You're just walking down the hallway and AJ Preller is standing next to you getting a sandwich when you are. By the way, a freaking wrap and a chip and a water was $40. I mean,
good Lord.
I had to take out a second mortgage to eat.
Yeah, that's worse than spring training prices.
Wow.
It was wild. But the
spring training, you go out for lunch.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, you walk through the thing is too. It's so funny about it. I was talking to Michael about this because he's one of the younger people that covers the team, so we kind of overlap. Yeah. And we were talking about how many random players that we grew up watching. We would just watch, like I saw Adam Jones, Johnny Goes, like so many random people. It was just what I would do was, to John's point, it was boring at times. So what I would do is I would go take a lap around the hotel every hour when I was bored. So and it was fun because it was like, where's Waldo? I mean, you don't know who you're going to see. And that's what made it fun.
Well, for Rangers fans, and I hate it for Ranger fans, I'm telling you now, and it's too late, but fans were allowed to walk around. They just couldn't go in the media part where Kane and I were, but we were set up where we did our show. It was wide open. Fans could walk around there, and Bochy was walking around, and he just came over. It'd be like Bochy coming out on the concourse and sitting next to Whataburger and doing a show. Yeah. Literally, it was like that. You could have been walking around and watching it, and there was Bochy. But, I don't think fans realized, holy crap, this is just wide open to do this. Now, there was places you couldn't go without your credential, which was in the media room where it's a huge ballroom just with a bunch of places to do that. But, you spent most of your time, right, walking around where everybody was.
That's my biggest thing. One of my biggest takeaways, what I hated most about the winter meetings was how freaking cold it was in that hotel. I don't know if you can attest to it. It was frozen in there.
I don't think they paid their bill or something. And I would say that someone in the Rangers organization, and I won't say who, I'll tell you off there because I'm not going to throw him under the bus. He said this place is dated, and he goes, it's actually one of the biggest pieces of shit there is for where they do winter meetings and all of that. Yeah. And he said it is dated and all of that, and he goes, it's crap. He goes, the rooms are dated. He goes, it's slightly embarrassing that they do that here. And I was like, hey, don't mince any words. Tell me what you feel.
Exactly.
But he wouldn't want that out there and anyone to know that he said that. But anyways, but I don't think a lot of the Rangers brass, I know some of them stayed there, but a lot of them didn't. I mean, they just lived around there and come over.
Yeah, most people didn't stay. I didn't stay. Everyone I talked to that covered the team didn't stay there. I mean, because we were.
Yeah, because you guys are all from Dallas, so.
Yeah.
Well, but I'm talking about front office guys. You would think that they got stuff going into the night and all of that, but the way you can do stuff now on your phone.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just be at your house or be anywhere. So.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, as far as bullpen, we talked about Webb, but one thing you don't think about is how many guys they have in the rotation. That leaves room for a Dane Dunning, or I don't know if they'd want to do that to Jack Leiter or even, right. Even I was about to say, even John Gray, who's been great in that role, and of course, if they'd have brought Heaney back, but Heaney's not coming back now that they've gotten Eovaldi back. But yeah, there's guys that have been in the rotation.
Most underrated signings, I think.
Oh, he was so good. He was so consistent last year.
That dude, and I mean, just being willing to do whatever the hell they ask him to do. Start, swing,
Yeah.
Come in for an inning. And he immediately, once the season ended, because it was a 1-year deal with the player option.
Yeah.
He picked that thing up. I think the paperwork was in like 2 weeks before. He wanted to come back. And I mean, he just did that. Those guys are so, and there's probably going to be.
He's from Oklahoma or something.
Yeah, I think about 10 years from now, a lot of casual Rangers fans aren't going to remember who the hell Andrew Heaney was, but that dude was an important pitcher for the Rangers for the 2 years that he was here, for sure.
He's a real introvert too.
Yeah.
And very, very nice guy, but very introverted too. And so I think he really enjoyed the media here, not being such cluster crap, I think that's what he really enjoyed. And so, it's going to stink on that. But, I tell you what, John Gray, John Gray could probably be a closer.
Oh,
I'm gonna be
yeah.
honest
Yes.
with you. And
Yes.
he's that bulldog mentality that he is. And so, what is he? 15 million this year? What is?
I believe it's 15. Yeah,
I think it's 14.
it's around 15. I think it's around 15.
Half, maybe.
Let's look it up here.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he could be a closer to his stuff. When he's on, he's unhittable, completely unhittable.
And think of those times.
Well,
that he
look
goes
at how
out.
many 1-0 losses did he have? I
Well,
mean,
look at
for real. How many?
Well, look at the
1-0
times that he went out there too, and was unhittable for 1 or 2 innings, and then all of a sudden he'd have one of those innings where he just.
Yep.
He's.
But then they put him in the bullpen and have him throw like an inning.
Yep.
And then he is 13 million this year.
13 million. Okay.
Yeah, well, I think to something you brought up earlier was Jack Leiter, and we had a private interviews with CY and Bochy, just DFW media, and CY basically said straight up, Leiter's a starter. You know, you can't, you're not throwing Leiter or Rocker in the bullpen, but
I didn't.
He
think
either makes the rotation or he's in the AAA rotation.
Yeah.
And that's where he's going to go.
But if you look at guys like
Same with Rocker. Same with Rocker.
Yeah.
Rocker will be in the rotation.
Yeah, I think he will be too.
So too. I mean, you got.
I saw him throw.
So Rocker.
I saw him throw 3 games. I saw him throw a game out at Frisco too. That guy's got Jacob DeGrom crap.
Yeah, he's
Crazy
so
how
good.
he is.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
I think
it's so insane that whenever that draft was happening, me and Ben everybody was clamoring for Jack Leiter over Kumar Rocker. And of course there was a lot more.
Kumar went 11 or 12 and then didn't sign.
Yeah.
And we got both of them.
And then can you believe that? The 2 best pitchers in that
the
draft
next year,
are
that next year they really had their sights set on one of those high school kids.
Yeah.
But what were they picking, 4th or 5th? And
4th, I believe. Was it 5th? Okay.
I think
so. I think did they have 4 2 years in a row? Because I think the lottery year they had 4, and that's when they got Wyatt.
Yeah.
But they got Rocker at 4 or 5. Those high school kids were off the board, and when they were off the board, that's when they pulled that off, and they did that. You know what? We could get Rocker here. Let's see if he'll sign for less. And he said, yeah.
Well,
and he signed for less.
Because he wanted Brock Porter in that.
Yeah, and they got Porter in that.
Was going to be able to pry him.
Everybody was passing on Porter because they thought that he was going to North Carolina or whatever it was, or Clemson.
It was Clemson, yeah.
And he was going to be hard to sign. And then they got that, and coming up to him being available at 4th round, he was like, well, let's get it. And he's like, I'll sign for that.
Yeah.
And they looked at his numbers, but he had not faced real harsh competition in that league he was pitching in.
Yeah.
I like Brock. He's a good kid.
Right.
Yeah. I think he's going to, I hope he's going to work out.
Toyota was
we were
one to
actually
watch.
we picked 3rd. We were all wrong. We picked 3rd that year
With Rocker
when we got Rocker.
Yeah.
3rd.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So there was 2 high school kids.
Yeah. Holiday and Jones. Right.
Okay. And that's who it was. And then they weren't enamored with any. I think there was another kid that went to the Pirates at about 5 that year. There was some talk about him. Tamar
Johnson. Yeah.
Yeah. Tamar Johnson, but the Rangers weren't as high on him. And so why not? You know what? Let's go under slot because we don't have any 2nd and 3rd round picks. Let's go under slot. They got Kumar. And I remember immediately when that happened, I went, holy shit.
Yeah, I did too.
I did the same thing, and I was like, how smart is that? Nobody was
this guy, even if he doesn't pitch this year and something, because he was, remember, I'm healthy, but it was like, even if he doesn't pitch, get that guy in here. And that guy, because that guy was going to be the number 1 overall pick from the day he was a senior in high school.
Yeah.
And then he ended up going to Vandy, and then he couldn't get drafted for 3 years. And then going in preseason, all the draft boards, he was number 1 overall pick he was going to be. And then he just didn't quite have the year he had. And turns out now we know he was having some issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
But he knew how to pitch, man.
Yeah.
He still pitched in the College World Series, and pitched well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, what else you guys want?
How shitty would that be to be in that conference, having to face Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter back to back.
I remember that
shit is not fair, man.
That was like the first year I started watching college baseball. And as an LSU fan, and we got Vandy coming to the box. Let's go. And then game 1 is Rocker. Game 2 is Leiter. We ain't winning this series.
I tell you, and the SEC is tops for baseball now.
Yeah.
Not only football, but it's going to be tops for baseball. I've been out to Mississippi State because my youngest son, he got into there. We went and looked. I don't know if he's going to end up going there, but we just walked over. We were driving around and we drove by that field where they play baseball, and it was wide open. And I just parked right there in the middle of the school. And she goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I am walking in this stadium to look at this thing."
There you go.
And it was, man, the outfield looks fun out there. You can go talk to Nate Lowe and Foscue, and there's someone else in the Rangers organization that played there too. I was trying to remember who it was. That was a Mississippi State, and he's in the minor leagues.
Is it Blaine Krim? Was he Mississippi State?
No. He went to some.
Didn't Rafael Palmeiro play for Mississippi State?
Yeah, no, that's before y'all were probably born.
No, not me. Kane for sure, damn right. But no.
Rafael but everything Palmeiro was before Kane was born.
Yeah, that's true.
I was talking to somebody at the winter meetings, and they were like, "It's because you're literally 17."
Yes.
Think about how many SEC guys are even just on the Rangers. Langford's a Florida guy, and then think about even throughout Major League Baseball. In the top.
Yeah.
Eanes is an LSU guy. Dylan Crew. I mean, it's just more and more
Smith
guys.
Is an LSU. Josh Smith's an LSU guy.
Yep. That's right.
More and more guys are going to. I mean, NIL is changing the game. More and more guys are going to college.
Oh, I get all kinds of crap because I'm a Longhorn fan. I go in that and I go up to them and talk about the Longhorns entering the SEC. They hate it.
Yeah, of course they do.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
all right, guys.
And feathers, but by the way,
Notre Dame. Yeah. We'll see.
They're not going to get past Indiana.
No, we
Every other team would love to have that schedule, CJ.
Yeah, Indiana's going to boat race the Notre Dame.
Boat us? Is that what you said?
No. Yeah. Mark my words. You heard it here first.
That's right.
Notre Dame's going to lose by 14 points to Indiana.
Ooh. I bet you $5.
Okay. It's a beer.
$5.
We'll
bet a beer or $5, whatever.
All right, that works.
We got to shout out SMU. They're a Dallas school in the playoff. I got a church group with some guys from SMU, so let's go.
It's awesome. I'm so proud of that school.
Yeah.
Listen, I grew up. So I graduated high school in 86. I grew up in the early 80s. I was always a Longhorn fan, but back then the SMU used to play at the old Texas Stadium because they couldn't play in the Cotton Bowl because they would sell it out. That was the Pony Express years. Yeah. And I would go over there to watch Pony Express play. And that's one of the most talented things I've ever seen in my life. Now, they were NIL before NIL was cool.
Yeah, they were. That's why they got in some trouble. They began NIL a little earlier than it was allowed.
Were we all?
and some other things, but yeah.
I've held that to this day. I've held it against Penn State that you gave SMU the death penalty and killed a program that was a top program. Yeah. And how Penn State did not get the death.
Yep. I don't know.
Didn't get the death penalty.
Exactly. I mean,
it's a shame.
Oh my God.
It's a shame.
Yep. It's a big shame.
The difference is paying a player to play football or child abuse.
Molesting children.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
In my opinion, one of those is way worse than the other.
You know what they should have done? You know what they should have done was like given Penn State the death penalty. And so all the funds that they gain, half of it goes to SMU.
Yeah. You know, SMU, the death penalty was going to be a 1-year deal. SMU was only going to get 1 year. And SMU themselves said, we're going to take 2.
Yeah.
So that we can just blow this thing up and come back. And then they came back in with academic standards and did all of that.
Yeah.
I tell you what, they better enjoy Rhett Lashley.
Yeah.
He's gone.
Yeah,
that dude right there. He just signed a big deal with him. But I don't think any school that sees what he does this year, and if he gets them back next year with Jenkins, they're going to come calling and they'll gladly pay that payout.
And there's a couple teams in that now with the reshaping of the SEC and Texas going in there and kind of I mean, really throwing a wrench in everything. I mean, I felt for you, John, the other night. I really did. And I root for all the Texas teams, but anyway,
Texas was the better team that night, but they got out coached. And I'm not saying that Sark did a bad job. They could not run the ball, and poor Quinn Ewers, who played a good game. Look, the guy's not very mobile, and if you can't run the ball and you're one dimensional, a good defense with a good defensive coach is eventually going to get you.
Yep.
And that's just the way it is.
Georgia defenses are always like that. I mean, that's just the way they are.
Yeah.
Texas shot themselves in the foot so many times, and they still went to overtime in it.
Yep,
so,
exactly.
I have no doubt. And you know what? Going to 5, Texas has a pretty
good road. They got a pretty good road.
Look, I think Clemson, because Dabo Swinney's another one that's just a pretty good coach.
Yeah.
But then they're going to go play Arizona. I love that Scattaboo or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
That's amazing. They don't have but maybe 2 athletes on the field that could even go too deep with Texas.
Yep.
They're worse than Clemson. I mean, I'm sorry, they are. They're just worse than Clemson. And so if Texas beats Clemson, they're going to boat rake. All you got to do is just tell your defense, go everywhere Scattaboo goes and get him. And the athletes on defense that can keep up with Scattaboo are going to contain him, and then you're making your quarterback beat you. Yeah. And that kid is as good as he is. They don't have the receivers and whatever to beat him. Texas will kill them.
I agree.
And it's Oregon, and Texas already has a history with Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah.
And that guy's, I just don't know if the defense for Oregon's as good as they need, but that's a good team right there.
All right. Anything else, guys, before we get off here? We've been on almost an hour.
Time flies when you're having fun, gentlemen.
I think that'll wrap it up. John, thanks so much for joining us tonight, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate
sorry.
I'm kind of last second. No. You're the guest. That's what you're supposed to do.
That's right.
We're just supposed to throw.
Dude, shows always do better when it's not just me and CJ. So
yeah. And we rarely have any of those anymore. So
it is way better when you have that third person. It is way better. It's very rare. Jeff and I don't have that. If we have that, don't have that third person. Somebody at the last minute. We've been trying to get Donnie Ecker on.
Yeah,
for 3 weeks, but he couldn't do anything because they were trying to finalize the coaching staff and all of that, and now they've all traveled home.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys again, and we will. CJ,
it's time to drop the deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Ranger Report podcast. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, and at therangerreport.com.